All right, so joining me is the 2024 IMCA Modified Champion at Skagit Speedway and Rookie of the Year, Jeff Westergard. First, kind of just about your career and you. Why did you get into racing?
So it actually started about 2004, I believe.
Okay.
My dad worked at Walton Beverage, and I liked going up to the racetrack. I didn't go very much when I was younger, but a friend of my dad, Jeff Needham, actually, they worked together for a long time, and Jeff offered a crew position on his 600 up at Deming for me to come up and watch and help. So I went up and helped him. Absolutely fell in love with the sport instantly, and I blame it all on him on why I still do this. He let me pack the track in a 600 one time, and I was just absolutely hooked. The very next year, I traded my dirt bike. I had a CR250. I traded my dirt bike for one of the 250 micro sprints, and me and my dad just sent it from then, and learned a lot the first year, crashed a lot the first year, didn't know anything about racing. I mean, we built fuel line out of the pop line that they do for the fountain drinks. Like, we had no idea what we were doing.
Wow.
Ended up having a pretty fun year. We were going to get Rookie of the Year, and I ended up flipping my car and missing a race, and we had to replace the frame that first flip there. Jesse Branham hooked me up with a frame that they had sitting up in the field, and so we did that year. And then the very next year, Paul Burdick and Jim Burdick, they're racers from up at Skagit. They're from Granite Falls area. They ended up actually picking me up to race for them the next year. So I raced 600 micros.
Okay.
For the VB racing team, and we raced Deming. We traveled around. We went and did the Best of the West series. It was like Clay Cup, and then Sacramento Raceway Park, and there was one, I think it was Bullhead City, Arizona or Nevada. We raced quite a bit that year, and from then on I just kind of progressively moved up. I've ran 250 micros, 600s. I got a shot in a 1200. Then we started racing like Sportsmans and 360s, and still racing 600s, back and forth between the big cars and the little cars. In 2012, I think it was, we ended up partnered up with somebody and running a Wing 360.
Okay.
That fell through halfway through the year, and I started running wingless 360s down in Oregon, and that was like the coolest thing ever. I was running the Competition Motorsports house car, and that was literally the funnest thing I've ever done in my racing career. Wingless cars are where it's at. So I did that, and then trying to further my career in racing, I actually went out and worked for the World of Outlaws. So I left my ride behind, went out and worked for Scott Bennick at Destiny Motorsports. Rick Rogers was the team owner. We started with Brandon Wimmer as a driver, and then kind of moved through some drivers. We had Jack Hodenshield behind the wheel, Lucas Wolf, and a couple others, and I was trying to learn, be in it every day, and it just got to the point where I have children here. It got to the point where it was too hard to be away from home that much. So I ended up coming back home, and I kind of had to pick up the pieces where I had left my rides, left cars that I was racing, so I had to kind of pick up the pieces and figure out what to race from there. We ended up getting back into some wing sprint car stuff back down in Oregon, and then I ended up taking a few years off. And then, I don't know, probably 5-6 years ago, started running a Sportsman again for James Bundy. We had some good races. We had some hard races. Broke a car really bad. And then from then on, I decided that I wanted to race again full time. So I ended up buying a Focus Midget and running that. We ran the first year with the Focus Series. We won the Northwest Focus Challenge, or the summer challenge deal that they had put together for the series points. Ended up winning that. Didn't even get a race win that year, but we were just consistent. I think our average finish was like 2.5 that year. So we did that, and then built a new car the next year, got the Deming Championship, and then I decided that the horsepower, like sit back in the car feel, just wasn't quite enough for me. So I ventured to either go sprint car racing again or try these. Mel Decker let me run his car at the end of the season when you guys did the play days at the end of the season. And I ran one of his modifieds, and it was quite a bit of fun. So just cost, horsepower, all that kind of wise, I decided to go the modified route. And last year we got Rookie of the Year. I think we won 5 main events in the modified all around. Started the year off in January in Yuma. Learned a ton. Ended up having to buy a motor, and then flipped a season opener at Elma. So we've been learning how to fix the car and everything like that. And then we ended up getting Rookie of the Year in the season championship last year. And here we are doing it again.
Wow, that's a lot, and there's a lot I want to unpack there. But what age were you? So in 2004, how old were you when you first started?
I was 14 or 15
Okay.
when I started racing.
And how old are you now?
36.
Okay. And kind of looking at that outlaw track for a minute, how long did you spend on the road with the World of Outlaws?
So I actually went out twice.
Okay.
I went out with one team. It ended up not being a good fit. Part of the reason was I was homesick. I had a 4-year-old or whatever at home when I went out. I was homesick, and then it was just like I flew into Kansas City, Missouri, and it was like 110, 95% humidity. It was miserable, and we just went right to racing, and it didn't pan out the way I had hoped, but I ended up coming home from that one really short. I think it was only 3 weeks or something I was out with that team. And then I can't remember if it was that very next season or later in that season. I can't remember how it worked out, but I ended up finding out about the Destiny Motorsports team. Jamie Barnes drove for them when they first started. And so I did some research on that, ended up going out with them. And working with Scott Bennick was the most incredible thing. Like, that dude is so talented. He's been around the world for his whole life in the racing community, working for Tony Stewart and all that kind of stuff. I spent about a season out with them. And I just learned, I took in so much. I was just trying to be a sponge out there and learning the ins and outs. And it worked out really well. Scott couldn't have been a better teacher. The building his cars, working on everything, driving the hauler around. It was a cool experience.
So what was the, biggest piece of information that you maybe still keep with you today?
I mean, it really, I did believe in the beginning that races were won in the shop.
Yeah.
And then it really solidified that when I was on the road. Like, when you're doing this every day and the drivers out there are relying on it for an income, you can't have failures. I mean, of course, parts are going to break, but you can't have failures. So I really try to run a plus effort at the shop, and then, that just carries in through the races. Like, I have a thing now where if I take my hood off at the races, I feel like the night's ruined. I don't like working on my car at the racetrack. Obviously, things break, things malfunction, and you have to fix them. But when it comes to maintenance, I have a really, really big list of maintenance that I like to do, whether it's the midget, the sprint cars, whatever. I really don't like to show up to the racetrack unprepared.
What is that list of maintenance? I mean, short or long, whenever you gotta want to dive into it.
I'm learning with this still.
Yeah.
This one doesn't require as much maintenance, but racing the midget. I mean, I've been lucky the last 2 years because I've been racing in the 78R.
Yeah.
And the guy that is running that program, Mike, he is absolutely spot on. I have a lot of trust issues with people maintaining the car. I like to be hands-on. I like to work on the car myself. It's actually part of racing that I enjoy is working on the car. I've been really lucky running this and the midget and then the Sportsman now. I've been really lucky to be able to really lean on Mike and just more or less just show up with my gear bag and race. But when it comes to like sprint cars, we have a list of greasing bars, greasing torque tubes, or the torque tube, tire maintenance, whether it's swapping out or cleaning, whatever. Fluid changes, nut and bolting. I harp on my guys. They're all volunteers. They do this for free, but I harp on them. I'm like, hey, if we have a little bit of time, it makes me as a driver feel really good if everybody just takes a wrench and just checks some bolts. Even if you just take one wrench and just go check all those bolts, and then the next time you do it, take a different wrench. So, I mean, that list is huge on maintenance, but it's oil changes, gear changes if we're going to different racetracks. Greasing is huge. Using the right grease is huge. Just making sure that things aren't going to fail and fall apart. And if, along with that, when you're nut and bolting, I explain to my team and everybody I race with that, when we're checking bolts, we're not just checking for tightness. We're looking at parts. We're looking to see if something's fatigued or bent or something looks off, or there's an oil leak in a shock or something like that. So it's just finding problems before they become a problem.
Yeah, all those minute little things,
Yep.
right?
anything little, bring it up, and we'll address it. Whether it's big or small, we'll see if we need to fix it or just keep running it.
All right, so I kind of want to transition now and talk about the modifieds. It's something that, I mean, personally, I don't even know super well. But can you kind of, what is the modified? What are the specs of these? And let's start there.
I'm learning on this thing as I go. I've got a lot of help from some of the racers locally, and then some of the racers going down to Arizona. I learned a ton. The modified, it's a really cool class. You know, they're running, the front clip is a Chevelle front clip or a Monte Carlo, whatever kind of car you have. And then it's tube frame back behind that. You can run an open motor with 800 horsepower, or you can run a crate motor like I do. The crate motors have 400 horsepower, but they get, you know, a roller cam and things like that and aluminum heads versus the open motors have steel head or cast heads. So you can have 1,200 horsepower in this class if you can build it.
Yeah.
But these tires really limit you on what you can get for traction. So it seems to be the going thing. What I've learned is the crate motors are dominant in this class. The only downfall is, like, we lost a motor in Willamette a couple weeks ago, and you have to take it to an IMCA tech to be able to get it resealed and fixed. You can't even look inside of it to see what's going on with it.
Really?
So the only thing you can do is take your valve covers off. So the open motors have their benefit there, where, you know, we're up in Washington, that there's not a ton of help that we can get out here. We have to send our motors off. So my motor's down south. It's actually on its way right now. We're switching back to my motor tonight. So, you know, they get the crate motor, and they go for anywhere from 50 to 200 shows. They're $9,000 brand new.
Wow.
So, I mean, cost per race is just substantially low from sprint cars, where, you know, you got a $70,000 410 that runs 15 shows and it needs $10,000 worth of work. And so that was some of the stuff that pulled me to this class. Tires, you know, when we're racing Arizona, there's tire wear is a thing. Up here, not so much. Like Skagit, I'm not going through tires, so that's been really beneficial. So they're on this hard compound tire, and everybody's on the same one, so it really limits you on what you can get for traction anyways, so 400 horsepower works just fine. I've learned how to do a lot of sheet metal. These things, pretty much the main thing that gets bent or broken is the sheet metal. So I've learned how to do all that as we go. Like the lower control arms are factory control arms, like out of a Chevelle. It's a lot of parts that you can fix and build versus just going down to Speed Mart and buying.
Okay.
But some of the stuff you do have to go down there and buy. So it's kind of cool, best of both worlds. You get to work on it and build it, like, I feel like old school racing. So you get to fix things and build things and adapt things like in your own shop. But, you know, there's a downfall to that. You can't just go to Speed Mart and buy it. So it's a huge learning curve.
So if you're not necessarily going to Speed Mart, you say you're building, or are you buying parts from cars and putting them in, or what are you doing in the part?
No, so there's the control arm. I said it's a factory control arm, but it has a shock mount that's welded on it, and so you just buy those from Speed Mart or whoever you get your parts from.
Yeah.
You can get pretty much anything you want, but like the thing I like about it is like the bumpers and the Nerf bars in the sprint cars. I mean, you could build them in the sprint cars, but they're a little more time consuming to build them in those.
Yeah.
These ones you can just build it with a regular 110 welder that you have.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so that kind of stuff is nice to be able to build. The wheels are all steel, so and the wheels are only like $120. So like you taco a rim in a midget. I remember I paid $900 for a right rear wheel 3 years ago, and these things are $120. So, and you can straighten them and bend the lip back out and get them fixed and things like that. So that part of it's really, really nice.
What type of driving style is required to drive one of these?
I have no idea. You know, I've just been doing what I think I know. I pretty much took anything I learned in sprint cars and threw it out the window. There's nothing that really converts over. The only thing that's the same is the car slides around the racetrack. But you have to have so much throttle control in these cars, even with 400 horsepower. Like some of the main events up at Skagit, like the Survive 55, I'm like quarter throttle, half throttle trying to get down the straightaways just to get grip. And there's a lot of trail braking in these cars. So I don't know if you saw it on opening night, but my car was throwing sparks out the left rear because I'm so hard on the brakes, just like not necessarily slowing the car down, but keeping the car up on the bars like that. There's literally nothing that transfers over from sprint cars, but you try to keep the thing up on the right front, try to keep it up on the bars and try to keep traction on your tires is the best way I can explain it.
So why do you have to trail brake?
To keep it up on the bars.
Okay.
So in a sprint car, there is kind of a similar there. So in a sprint car, if you lift off the throttle, it gets off the torque tube, it drops the suspension, makes the car handle like crap.
Yeah.
This is kind of the same thing as far as that goes. So you'll get it in the sprint cars. Sprint car guys will trail brake too, but in this car, you have a rear and front brake bias. So you can dial in your front brake or dial in your back brake to get it to kind of react differently, but you're really dragging your brake even down the straightaway to keep your tires from spinning.
Okay.
So even if I'm full throttle going down the straightaways, I might still have 10 or 15% of brake applied to try to get down the straightaway to keep it up, loaded up, and keep the tires from spinning.
Is that kind of what causes that, left front to always be kind of picked up in a modified a little bit, just because how it's sitting? Or how you're, I don't know, finessing it, if that's the right way to...
I don't know what the story is on that left front thing. I mean, I've done it in one car one time, and I absolutely hated it.
Okay.
It's different setups. These cars are... The suspension is so much more in depth than a sprint car. A sprint car is kind of bolt on, squared up, and go. And you're not really changing... I mean, you're degreeing bird cages a little bit, but the only thing you're changing there is like bar rates. And these ones... You can change spring rates. You can change a lot of the locate. I mean, there's like 15 holes on the right rear arms that you can change into different locations.
Yeah. And
it does different things in different parts of the track. And some of the guys that are running with their left front up in the air, if you look at some of the old school modified stuff, they all used to do it. But I can't stand it. I think it's mainly because coming from sprint cars, I do not like the way it feels.
Interesting.
And a lot of the new technology and the new cars, they're not doing that anymore in this class.
Okay.
I mean, up off the ground like this far is a lot different than 6 feet in the air.
Yeah.
I honestly don't even know how they do it, but I can't stand it. I like having all three tires close to the ground, all brakes working. I like it. Just feels more stable to me, and I feel more confident with it.
So, what are your goals here for the 2025 season, whether at Skagit or just kind of as a whole? So.
My goals for this season, this is my car. I race it full time. I get a lot of help. I have a really good team behind me. I'm also running the midget full time, and then the sprint car thing kind of got sprung on me last week. So we'll see when and where I can run that as far as the scheduling goes. My first commitment's this. Second commitment is midgets, and then third commitment is sprint cars. I like racing a ton. I like racing as many races a year as I can. I've been consistently racing 40 to 50 races a year, and I think that really benefits you as a driver. Even if it's in a go-kart or a sprint car or whatever, I feel like it just keeps your mind sharp. So I want to race, 40 to 50 races this year between the cars. Of course, we want to win races. We want to stay competitive, and if we're not competitive, I want to figure out why. The big goals is to go back for the Skagit Championship. So that's taking priority on my schedule right now. I want to run all the races at Skagit. I want to, as far as the modified goals, I want to go for the championship again this year. I want to win some races this year, and then I want to take top 5 in the Survive the 55.
Oh.
So, I mean, of course, my goal is to win the Survive the 55, but my actual goal is to take top 5 in the Survive the 55. Last year we were running 5th, I think, and the right rear tire shredded halfway through the race, so it just killed our momentum in the race. As far as the midget goes, I would like to. I didn't have a chance to go for the Deming title last year, but 2 years ago we got the Deming title. Deming's been, it's got my heart since start because that's where I started racing, and the Lemley family is incredible. Like, I just love being up there. That track's really fun in a midget, so I would like to try to go for the Deming championship, get a shot at that again this year. And then beyond that, I would really like to race some more out-of-town races. So Skagit, I wish we had more races there, but it is what it is with all the different classes that Skagit runs. So my goal is to go race down in Oregon, maybe hit a couple California races, and just do well everywhere we go. Not necessarily worry about just the championship, but I want to go do well elsewhere.
Yeah. Kind of over your career, what challenges have you faced and been able to overcome?
Money. Racing is really expensive. The last couple of years, last few years really, I've been very blessed with the people that help me, whether it be the shop or help financially, because, racing is not cheap. Even though these are lower cost of racing, they're still not cheap to race. So it's been a lot of money struggles my entire career racing. I just have never had the backing to be able to travel a bunch or do a whole bunch of racing, or I've been learning it all as I go. I didn't come from a racing family. Nobody in my family ever raced. I'm the first one. And so, I've had to battle the finance part of it, and I've had to battle the learning part of it as I go. I think that's probably the main struggle.
Who are those people that have helped you get to where you are financially wise, that have helped support you?
Starting from the beginning?
Who do you want to shout out and give credit to where credit is due?
When I first started, it was me and my dad. My dad has been a huge part of my racing. He lives out on Orcas Island now, so he hasn't been able to do as much in the last 10 years as what he used to do. But he's still, every night on the way home, he calls me and talks to me about the races and sees what he sees, and we talk about it. And of course, my mom and my stepfather, they've been a huge part of it. They lived down in Chehalis for the first half of my career, and now they moved up here, and they've been a huge part of racing the last few years. And that's been really cool. They've helped me out with a little bit of finances, and they've also helped me out just helping me get things ready and helping me do this and help me do that. The first, real guy that kind of took a liking to me, or team that took a liking to me, Jim Burdick. He's passed now, but he literally went down to California and bought me a 600 and let me race it for the year. And so that was a pretty cool step in my career. My second year racing, I was driving for somebody. I think he liked me more of a person than a driver, because I was still new racing. I wasn't that good, or I wasn't good at all. So he took a liking to me as a driver and really, let me give it a shot. And we had some success. We had some good races. We had some bad races. And so from then on, I just people believing in me through the way of driving their cars, like Competition Motorsports, or Jerry Schramm let me jump in one of his cars down in Oregon. And then over the last few years, we've had Skagit Transmission. He was actually on my crew. He's a snowmobiling buddy of mine. They jumped on board financially, and with him helping, he had a trailer and everything for me that we could use all year. And he stayed with me for the last few years. SBW Ag Automation, they're my job now. I've been working for them for a year. They give me the shop space and let me go race when I need to go race and things like that. He's helped me out financially and shop space since in the last few years. My big, huge team partners this year, like Washington Spray Foam, he's been with me for a couple of years. Ideal Rental and Pacific Party Canopies, they came on at the end of the last year and jumped on full-time this year. TM Anderson Law, he's been helping me out for the last few years, but he's finally on the car this year. He helps me when I'm trying to figure out how to get to Chico in the midget. He'll help me out with fuel money or whatever like that. And then this year he jumped on full time. Speedmart has been, so they've been a part of my racing since I started.
Okay.
Even when Shauna owned Speedmart, she got me hooked up with a suit. I had a Speedmart suit. She got me hooked up with that and always took care of me there. And then when Barry ended up moving up here, Barry Martinez was like the guy I watched when I was younger. And so I was drawn over to him because, for one, he had the same number. Yeah. And then two, he was just a super nice, he welcomes you with open arms. And so when he took over Speedmart, it was just it was awesome. Like, I love Shauna. She was really cool with me too. But, me and Barry just click. And he's supported me through midgets and sprint cars and modifieds and everything. So he's been a huge part of it for pretty much my whole career. Trying to think who else. My wife, obviously.
I gotta make sure.
I didn't race when I met her, when I first started dating her. And so that was in my break.
Okay.
And then I'm like, hey, let's go racing. And she goes, okay, that sounds fun. And then she's like, hey, this racing thing takes a lot of time and energy, right? And so, we were down with this car when we first got it. We went down to Yuma. Yeah. And we went down with a 7-month-old and spent 3 weeks on the road racing, literally just me and her and the 7-month-old.
Wow.
And luckily we became friends with the Blood racing team. Tyson Blood and his girlfriend and dad and brother and mom and everybody. They helped us out a ton down there. But my wife, she doesn't like me racing as much as I do, but she also doesn't stop me from racing as much as I do. She would like to go camping and fishing on the weekends, and I'm going to try to make it a point to do that, this year, maybe next year. But she's been a really good sport and lets me do it. And she doesn't fight me on it. I mean, she tells me sometimes, she's like, hey, I'm not going to go to the races this weekend because I want to go spend time with my family.
Yeah.
So we've kind of found a happy medium, I think. But but she lets me kind of do whatever I want with racing. So she's been a huge support. My kids, I can't go to some of the functions they got going on because of racing or work or whatever. So, and they like racing.
Yeah.
So they try to come and support it as much as they can. Trying to think who else. I mean, there's so many people that have helped me along the way.
There always
are. Working on the Outlaw Tour, the time that Scott and Rick took with me while I was out there was, I mean, you can't pay enough for that kind of stuff. I actually got a text from Scott this morning and said, hey, it looks like you're doing really good. Good job. And kind of gave me a pat on the back. I'm like, man, that's really cool. From 10 years ago or whatever, he still thinks of me and texts me and says, good job.
That is cool. So, a question that I've seen come up a couple times are people wondering, what do racers do, for a day job? You mentioned you work for SBW Automation or Ag Automation, but what do racers do for a day job? What is your day job?
So I had up until like June last year, I had a dirt company that I did full time. We ended up buying a dump truck and we were doing driveways and things like that. And then Ian, the majority owner of SBW, we've been another snowmobiling friend. We've been friends for quite a few years, and he's been trying to get me to come work for him for like the last 5 years. And I just said, no, it doesn't. Timing's not right. Not right. And then last year I was kind of overwhelmed with business and finances and stress, and I said, okay, I'm ready. So he took me in. We did a trial down in California, and he took me in full time, and I've been here ever since. So what we do is farm automation, robotics, vision systems, software, hardware programming, whatever we got going. We're building a transplanter down in it's an automated transplanter. It's down in California right now. It's planting 25 acres a week of like broccoli or whatever.
Wow.
So all the broccoli and lettuce and things that you guys buy in the store here, or we buy in the store here, is all coming from this like Salinas, Central Valley, Central Coast, California. And so I've been working back and forth in California pretty much every week. We got the transplanter down there. We have other projects that we're working with other customers, vision systems or help with their automation. We can consult, or we can just build it from start to finish. There's nowhere that we don't do. And then we have a manufacturer in Oregon that does our big manufacturer. So like if somebody buys a transplanter, we have them manufacture it, and then we program it and put all of our electronics and stuff on it. So I'm not tech. I'm sales service. Right now, it's this transplanter is in the early stages of going commercial, and so I'm working in California, working on the machine, wrenching on the machine, working with the crews, teaching crews. A guy that I work with every day is actually down there planting like as we speak.
Oh, wow.
I couldn't go down because our boss is having some medical things that he's getting taken care of. So just back and forth to California, working on this transplanter, working on vision systems, whatever else. It's a pretty cool gig. I have no farm experience. I have learned a ton, and it's been a huge thing. I mean, it's a huge eye-opener on what the actual ag industry looks like.
So I imagine, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that going back and forth to California and then trying to balance working on a race car, whether it's your midget or your modified, isn't easy. What does that look like for you, especially even now with the week we're doing it is a race week on Saturday?
Did you mention that I have 4 kids also and a wife? So
how do you do it?
So my boss at SBW, he told me from the beginning, he said, family's important.
Yeah.
He's put a lot of hours down in California and Arizona away from his family. And I told him going in, I said, one of my things that I'm not going to do is sacrifice family time to an extent. I mean, there's a job that still needs to be done. So he told me that if and when I'm down there a bunch, he promised me home on the weekends for racing and for family. And then he told me that, if the fact that my family and I are struggling, he would bring my family down with me. So there's been a couple times in the last few months that I've actually taken my family down with me. It makes things a little more difficult to try to work because we're working from like 3:30 in the morning till 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And so I'm not necessarily entertaining my family, but I do want to see them while I'm down there, and they're down there too. So there's a balance. We've been working on that. My wife, we're lucky that she gets to stay at home. So she's at home with the kids or up at her families or something like that. I have 2 older daughters that are 16 and 17.
Okay.
I don't even know what they do anymore. They work and dance and do band and track, and so they're just full on busy all the time. So along with that, I have a built-in house sitter that they can take care of the dog and the house. But I work. Typically, I'll go down on like Sunday night or Monday night, work all week, and then I have to get home for the races. So last week I worked from 3:30 in the morning till 9 at night. I caught a plane on Thursday at 7, I believe, or I was supposed to leave at 7. It got delayed.
AM or PM?
PM.
Okay.
And then so I ended up. They had some mechanical problems with the plane. We fly in and out of San Luis Obispo. It's a nice little airport. It's like Bellingham. It's like 5 minutes through or 2 minutes through security.
Oh, that's nice.
So they got delayed from some mechanical issues, and then they got it figured out, and then they landed in SeaTac and literally like took us out by the FedEx planes and said, okay, you guys are going to have to get on this bus and we're going to truck you back to the airport. I'm like, what? Okay. So my wife picked me up. I ended up getting home at like 1:30 in the morning Friday. We broke a right rear brake on this thing at play day the week before. So I had to fix that on Friday. Then I had to go race on Friday up at Deming and then back to the shop to get this thing finished up. The sportsman was here, so we were helping with that, get this thing all loaded, and then I raced on Saturday double duty. I was exhausted.
Oh, I bet.
I was tired. So that's kind of how my weeks have been looking. It would be really nice if we didn't tear anything up this year because I'm working in California so much. But I honestly believe that right now we're in a big push with work going down to California. So I think it's going to be able to be slowed down here pretty soon. Putting in the time now to try to make it worthwhile later, where I can have a little more leeway on my schedule and maybe go down for a day or two, or every couple weeks go down for a couple days instead of going down every week for 4 or 5 days.
So did you go down at all this week or
no?
not?
So
your bosses?
The majority owner of the company, Ian, he's the CEO. He's up getting some medical stuff with his heart.
Okay.
He's good. He's in the recovery. I talked to him earlier. He's doing well. But it was kind of we run lean and mean. There's 3 owners and then me. I'm the only employee, and so when we're down a guy, we really feel it.
Yeah.
So luckily, we all just kind of adapt and do whatever we need to do. So one guy's down planting instead of 2 of us with his crew, but I had some things I needed to take care of to get out this week up here that we couldn't let just wait. So I've been working here around the shop. So it's been a nice time being able to be home with my family and then take care of that stuff. I think I worked till 1 this morning anyways, but it was at my house working on this box that we're building.
Okay. So on the back of your car, it says Westy. Mm-hmm. Where did that nickname come from?
So Westy actually came from, and I think my dad, my uncles will argue with it, but my dad in sports, I think what it was somebody called him Westergard. My last name's Westergard.
Yeah.
I think they called him Westergard or something. So from then on, like my dad, my uncles, my brother, and I have it tattooed on my arm.
Okay.
Or this side, I think. Westy's been our sports name for my entire dad's side of the family. And so Westy is what I went by in football. Westy is what I've gone by always in racing. It just came from our last name, and it started from Dad and through all my uncles and everybody. We all went by Westy through all of our athletic stuff.
Well, sweet. That was something I've always seen, but I'd never actually been able to ask you that. Kind of as we wrap up here, where do you see your racing career going?
That's a tough one. So
it is. It's a loaded question. I'm well aware. So
when I was younger, I really wanted to make a career out of racing.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be a driver. That's kind of every boy's dream of racing.
Yeah.
And we had some success along the way, but it takes a lot of money to do that, right? So I've kind of come to terms with that. I'm getting old for that. I can't really do that. Mm-hmm. You can win races locally, but if you're not out on the road, you're just not going to do it. Mm-hmm. So my plan right now is to race and have fun and have success where we do race. I tried with my daughters when they were younger to get them to race quarter midgets. They didn't show any interest. So I have a almost 2-year-old son now. So what I've kind of decided is if it makes sense for me to keep racing when he turns 5, whether it be sponsorship or, partnering up with somebody and driving for somebody, I'll keep racing. But if it's still a lot out of my pocket or mine and my family's pocket, I think I'm going to put my racing down and try to focus on my son racing quarter midgets and try to bring him up through, and not necessarily like push him to be a NASCAR guy, but just put a lot of my focus on him. I'm really excited to go racing with him, and he really loves racing. That you can look at my Facebook. There's pictures of him pushing the race car around, and he tells his mom he wants to go down with dad and go because that's how he works on the race car. So in 3 years, I really want to try to give him an opportunity to race and start him from a lot younger than I did, and just see what he does with it and see if he likes it and see what happens.
Yeah, pass along that love and passion kind of thing.
And I did race some go-karts with my daughters, and I actually had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah.
I absolutely love racing, but I want to pass it down and let them race too, because we're not going to have racers if we don't pass it down.
Yeah.
So I would love to keep racing. I want to keep racing, but if it doesn't financially make sense, then I'll probably stop in 2-3 years.
Well, Jeff, this has been a really insightful conversation. I thank you for having it. Anyone that you, again, sponsors, I want to give you a chance to say thank you to anyone. I know you have before, and if not, we'll wrap up here.
Yeah, I'm just going to kind of throw a blanket statement. I appreciate every single person that's been behind me through my whole racing career. I went over my sponsors this year. I forgot Primetime Designs. He does my wraps.
Looks good this year, by the way. He did well.
Yeah,
I like it.
I like his stuff. He designs it pretty well.
I like the numbers. Sorry, I know we're off top. I like the numbers.
Story on the numbers.
Okay.
He did 2 years ago. We did my midget, and he did these gold leaf numbers, and I was like, dude, I can't do that. That's too much. That's too flashy. And then I grew to love it. And then last year we didn't have these numbers, and then this year I was like, hey, so do you think we could do the gold numbers again? I really like those things, and I feel like they kind of ran with us, and I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, perfect, okay.
There's just something about it that the light hits at the right angle, or they just look good.
Yeah, I love them. I love the gold numbers. My wife, my family, my parents, everybody that lets me do it, all my people that have supported me over the years. Skagit Speedway, they run a fantastic program now. These guys are no joke when it comes to making this stuff better. Deming Speedway, they're right. I love those guys. They really, really make you feel at home up there too. So anytime I get to race up there, I love it. I thank you for everybody that's kind of been behind me.
Well, sweet. Thank you. We appreciate your time.
Thanks.